Hey, morning, how's it going? It's time for Senior Yoga with me, Ricky Stewart. So, I'm gonna do some good stuff today. I've got some good stuff planned about how you control your spine, because it's important. Even if you're just walking, that's it. Your spine has to perform. It's got to be able to do stuff. You need to be able to swing one leg forwards and the other hand forwards, and you land this kind of rotation in your thoracic spine, maybe a little bit of rotation in your hips. You push that leg off and you land in the opposite rotation. Rotation through your spine. It's important. I want you to be able to look after it and to be able to improve it. But what is the most important thing, way high up on my list of priorities, is that you work with what you've got right now. Whenever you've turned up, right now is what you've got. And we need to work with that, and you tease a little bit more performance out of you every single time you do the thing, whatever the thing is, whether it's squats, lunges, press-ups, doing cardio, doing aerobics, whatever it is. You turn up with what you've got, and you tease a little bit more out of your body every time. But respecting what you're starting with is sometimes, for some people, the hardest bit. Respecting that when you turn up, that your shoulder doesn't work very well and you don't have overhead strength. You can't even get your arm overhead, possibly. It gets to here and it hits a brick wall, maybe it's a little bit sore, that's it. No matter where you swing it, no matter what way you rotate it, you can't get it over here. Respecting that, for me, to teach, and for the people who are doing it that are struggling with being able to get their arm up overhead, it's the hardest thing. Because it's easy sometimes to just push with everything you've got. To push maximally is sometimes easier than backing away. It's that backing away that I'm going to talk a lot about today and see if I can really focus in. And it's hard because I'm kind of flexible, kind of strong. I'm good for the end ranges. And when I say I want your best effort end range like this, yours doesn't look like this because we're not the same. And it might look similar. You might even be able to get it into that same kind of angle as me, but we're still different, and you still feel it different because there's so many different shapes of human, so many different histories of movement and injury and all of the things that come along with exercise and work. And if you've got families and you've had kids and playing with the kids and things, it just changes everything. You change one thing, you change everything. So let's get into it where we respect that and we think about it and we try and just persuade our bodies to be able to do a little bit more than what we turned up with. It's only this much. It's not much. Not much at all. Okay, let's get started with some good breathing. Remember, I like talking about this. You can sit on the floor or sit on your sofa. I like sitting right on the edge of the sofa and sitting up tall, with my heels pulled back and pulling my shoulders down. Your breathing apparatus, the stuff that we're breathing with, these muscles around here, they also do movement. They also look after how your spine articulates. That means every task that involves your spine, which is almost every task, also involves your breathing apparatus. And all through the day, in some way, shape or form, you're using your breathing apparatus. They're a Venn diagram. They cross over each other. One's doing one thing, the other's doing the other. So when you breathe, just close your mouth, let your tongue relax, and breathe for the task at hand, which is sitting up tall and sitting still. Cross-legged or sat on the end of your sofa, however it works. Push your belly out to breathe in, draw your belly in to breathe out. Make this breathing kind of quiet so you can't hear it. Like the opposite of ujjayi breath if you've ever practiced that. Just slow it down. Be in control of every little bit of this breathing. And then start with this little side bend. So you squeeze ribcage down towards your hips one side, and then the other, one side, and then the other. You're only breathing for the task at hand, which is sitting still except for this little side bend. Nice. and then hold it in one side bend. So you're kind of scrunching up on this side here, lengthening this side. Push your belly out to breathe in. Draw your belly in to breathe out. Push your belly out to breathe in. Draw your belly in to breathe out. It's while you're in side bend, and then try the other side. Just see if you can understand this way to keep these muscles pulling you this way, these muscles lengthening, and breathing at the same time. And then sit up and cross your arms over your shoulders. Keep your face looking forwards as you rotate from corner to corner, from corner to corner. Keep breathing. So you find this rotation one way, then the other, one way, then the other. That's it. So, then hold yourself in one rotation and squeeze a bit further, breathe. It doesn't need to be deep breaths, but feel how this rotation has an impact on how you breathe. Then come the other way and breathe, shoulders down. Yes. That's it. And then I want you to come into all fours, and depending on what you've got going on, maybe you can go all fours with your hands like this. Maybe you need to use a beanbag or something to put your elbows on like this. If your wrists are sore, and use something, use the sofa with your elbows on, sofa with your hands on, any way that can get your chest kind of parallel to the floor. Either of those options are fine. I'm good for my wrists to be bent like this, so I'm fine like this. I want you to push your chest up as high as you can, pull your rib cage up as high as you can, tuck your chin so you get into this cat pose, this kind of turtle back, and push up more. And then see if you can hold this and just move lumbar spine. Then coming back up, and back down, and back up, and back down. See if you can push fingertips into the floor. Move slow, push your little fingers down. Keep tilting lower back. And it's just lumbar spine. So look how the middle of my back isn't moving. So if the middle of my back moves, it looks like this. And that's more. I want to just see lumbar spine be the only thing that moves. And then explore this by squeezing your ribcage down to one side and just move lumbar spine. And go over to the other side and just lumbar spine. And then let's go all the way up your back, squeezing shoulder blades together and looking up. Tuck your chin, push your chest up, rib cage up, belly button up, back down again. Push your chest up, rib cage up, tuck tailbone under. Keep moving from one end of your spine to the other. There we go, this is the last one. Perfect. Then take a big step forwards. So, you're in this kind of long lunge position with your shoulder on top of your knee. I want you to check in with how this hamstring works. As your hips go back, find hamstring stretch. As your hips come forwards, it's hamstring contraction. So the hips go back and forwards and back and forwards. Try and feel this, try and feel what's going on. So, as you go hips back, look for this hamstring stretch, and then you use this knee to pull you forwards. So go back, forwards, back, and forwards. That's it. Then last one. Perfect. Then take a step back, and step forwards, and hips go back, hips come forwards. So you're looking for this stretch, and then you're using this meat to pull you forwards. Hips go back, hips come forwards. You keep trying to find a way to understand how these muscles here can pull you around. Breathe a little bit as you do it. Last one. Then tuck your toes and bring yourself up and walk your hands around into wide leg forward fold, and let your spine curl around and let yourself fall here. Look at how my knees aren't collapsing inwards, my instep isn't collapsed, I've got a little gap under my instep here. Push your little toes down, push the outside of your feet down, and keep hinging down. Breathe here. And bring your hands onto your knees. I want you to push your chest up, but keep your belly button down. Push your chest up, but keep your belly button down. So, my spine, if I move sideways on, my spine is kind of flat. Here, look. I'm still in this hamstring stretch. My back goes flat. I'm trying to find this stretch here without letting my spine kind of curl around like this. Your hands can go wherever they want to go. Hands on your thighs, which might help hold you up. Hands on your shins. But try and not let your shoulders shrug up, and then drive. Hips through. Tense your bum. Squeeze bum cheeks together with wide feet. So it looks like this, look. Tense your bum. Try and twist your feet into the floor like you're trying to turn your toes out. Tense your belly a little bit. Breathe here. I'm going to see if you can leave your feet here. If you want to change it and bring your feet together, you totally can. Let's get into these shoulders. So, with your right hand, just pull it against your rib cage and pull elbow into here. With your left hand, hold it down by your side and see if you can tense everything and do a really small circle. Like this. And your thumb just points forwards. It's a really small circle with irradiation. See if you can squeeze your bum cheeks at the same time. Push your big toes down and small circle. It's only small. Hopefully everyone's good for this. And then see if you can do the other direction. And so try not to let any energy leak out, which means it's not like this, look. Which isn't just a little bit faster, but I'm just kind of letting a bit of momentum drop my hand and drop my hand. And I'm not connected to it. I want you to connect to it and be really strong. Moving this around with a bit of strength. Yes. And then, let's see if you can get this internal, external rotation. Forget about your thumb now. Look at the middle point in your bicep. So like point to this middle point. And this is going to turn in, turn out. Internal rotations when it turns in, external when it turns out. And see if you can tense your shoulder as you do this. And like really connect into this. And feel all of the muscles that are doing their thing. Maybe even use your hand like I am here. I can feel stuff on the back of my shoulder engage as I go internal rotation and then external rotation. Internal, external, internal, external. And no pain and lots of irradiation. Now, pin this shoulder into external rotation. So you're trying to turn this bicep out and do a little circle with as much irradiation as you can. Now, this is the precursor to being able to go all the way up and around and find corners. If you can, then you're going to try and keep external rotation as you bring this arm back and up and across, back down, and you're still in external rotation. So it's still turned out. See if you can understand that. It's hard. Yes. Then try the other way. Forwards, up, back, down. Then we try it with internal rotation. Remember that it's only, if you can only go little circles, you're only doing little circles. If you feel like you can find end range, then you can find end range. So you keep it in internal rotation, so this bicep, trying to turn in, so you bring it up, out, around, back. Then forwards, up, back, around, back. I want you to try and find the edges and really be able to push up against these edges. Okay, let's try this on this other side. If you're still happy with your feet wide, you can keep them. If you feel like you're getting tired, then you can bring feet in. Let's just see if we can learn a little bit about our hips, about our footprint, about things. If you can, be quite happy with your feet nice and wide. Grab hold here, start with little circles in any direction really, it doesn't really matter. We move this arm around, and just circles, and try and connect to every bit. Don't let any momentum happen, and see if you can irradiate into this shoulder. Like in with your fist, and then change direction. It's just little circles, getting good at articulating this shoulder, about getting good at moving it around. Then try and turn your thumb out to the side. It's not your thumb though, really. Pick a point on your bicep, turn that out, in little circles. Try and understand keeping this external rotation. And then maybe you can go all the way up, all the way out, and back, then change direction, keeping in external rotation. Yes. And then go internal rotation, so your bicep points in across your body, so you're trying to turn this bicep in as you bring it back. Oh, sorry, do little circles first, check in with it, make sure you're happy with the little circles, and then maybe, oh, it's tough for me, and then forwards. I want to do another one just to see. It's tough. I'm going to go this way again. So this is kind of me checking in with what I've got going on. Internal rotation for my left shoulder has always been a bit of a struggle for me. No injuries, no pain. I just know that I don't have the control. This shoulder is vulnerable to injuries in internal rotation. I can feel it. It's not as strong, it's not as connected, it's not as good. I want to be able to fix it, so I keep checking in with it. And it does get better. The more focus I give it, the better it gets. Okay, and then let's have a little think about standing spinal control. So if you turn your back to the side, I want you to be able to do hip tilts, so you can get hold of your hips, get hold of your pelvis, go up like this, so your coccyx kind of picks up, and then it tucks under your bum. Coccyx picks up and tucks under your bum. And everything else does stability. So if you hold your hands here, you'll feel like these top bits of muscles around your belly, obliques around here, around the rib cage, just underneath your rib cage, kind of helping. It's all coming from lower back and lower abs. And then, see if you can hold lumbar spine in place and peel back your chest, tuck down your chest, peel back your chest, tuck down. And this is thoracic movement here. In 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay. Think about this control over lumbar spine and thoracic spine. There's a small chance you didn't get that. That's why I kind of skipped through it a bit, because it's hard and I don't want to spend the whole class just teaching that stuff, because I want you to think about it as we go into our other stretches, which is kind of how this works. So when we go into a hamstring stretch, I really like this one on the sofa, with your leg up on the side of the sofa like this. If you're in the gym, if there's a plyo box, you know, like a box for jumping on, you can use one of them as your sofa. If not, you can always do this sat on the floor, and you can put your foot up against the inside of your thigh like this, sat on the floor. We're going to try and find our hamstring stretch. So this tissue underneath the back of your leg gets stretched as you pull yourself forwards. So our habit for a hamstring stretch might be that you curl your spine around like this and tuck your chin and bring nose to knee, which is all fine and lovely, but my spine is all curled up, curled around, and that's fine, because that's what this is. If someone says, how far can you get your hamstring stretch, this spine will help kind of share the load into getting your belly pressed against your thighs to be able to fold in half. But I want you to be able to feel this hamstring stretch no matter what shape your spine goes into. See if you can keep this leg reasonably straight, not locked out, just reasonably straight, and breathe. Pull yourself forwards a little bit. And just own it. Own your hamstring flexibility and explore where your spine could possibly go. So it doesn't have to do this curling around. It can be anywhere. And your hands can go anywhere as well. You can use the side of the sofa, have your hand on your knee, hand on your foot, 2 fingers around your big toe, hand on your heel like this, hand on your heel like this. Any of these are all fine. Just depends what you've got going on and how much mobility you've turned up with. Because remember, we're only working on what you've turned up with, and that's it. Can't do any more than that. Okay, stick with this then. Just live in it. Live in this hamstring stretch. Try and lengthen your spine. See how I'm sitting up a bit taller. For me today, I'm quite enjoying this. Two fingers around my big toe. That feels quite comfy for me. And I can play around with my ankle here, and it changes things slightly. I can play around with my spine here, and because I'm held on here, I'm kind of pinned into this, and I can still kind of push my belly forwards by trying to lengthen here. And that feels kind of nice, and it probably accentuates the stretch here in my hamstring. Keep breathing and holding. And then we're going to do a little bit of pails and rails. So I want you to start driving your heel and your calf down. I'm strong and I'm flexible, so I can maximize this. I can go as much maximum voluntary contraction as I can in my hamstring. You can do whatever you've got. Whatever you've turned up with is what you've turned up with. We're trying to just persuade a bit more. So maybe you can just push down a little bit with this heel and feel the connection to this hamstring. Feel that hamstring grip on. And own this stuff. Own it. So it's your strength as you drive this heel down. Keep driving, keep driving. Breathe. And then bring your hands either side of your knee. Push your hands down and pull the sofa towards you with your fingertips, and then try and lift this foot. And try and connect to this tissue in the closing angle so that you are as strong as you are flexible. And hold, and hold, and hold. Going 3, 2, 1. And then sit up a little bit more. See if you can get a little bit of air time. Hold it, and hold it, and hold it. And then drop. And then see if you can stretch. And this time I want you to curl your spine around. Keep your leg as straight as you can without locking it out. See if you can get nose to knee or bring your face towards your feet. And hold and breathe. That's it. And then coming out. And then I want you to stand up and think about this hamstring and this hip. So we've just done hip stuff because this hip's gone into full flexion. Let's see. When you bend your knee, you make hamstring contract, it stretches this stuff here, and go knee up, knee out, heel up, knee back, knee to knee. And see how my knee has stayed bent. I'm trying to make this hamstring work, keeping my heel kind of close to my bum as I find all these corners that's available in this hip. If I put my hand here, I can tell my lower back isn't trying to share the load. So if it goes like this, I've shared the load into my other hip. My lower back's also doing it, especially if my knee goes back here. My lower back is doing it as well. I'm not after that. I want stability everywhere, articulation in this hip joint. That is it. So lock your lower back on, get this end range control all the way around in these good quality hip cars. Perfect. Okay, then sitting. So we're doing the other leg, other hamstring. Remember, your stuff is different to mine. The height of your sofa, the softness of your sofa, it's all different. And then you are different to me as well. The length of your hamstrings, length of your legs, length of your torso, it all makes differences. So if you want your hands on the sofa like this, as you push yourself into this hamstring stretch, then that might work. That might feel quite nice. Or maybe you grab hold of the bottom of your sofa to pull yourself down. That might work too. Like I did before, maybe 2 fingers around your big toe, hand around the outside of your foot, hand on your heel, hand on your knee. Any of these are all right. There's no right or wrong for this, as long as you are feeling this stretch right in the belly of the muscle. So right in the heart of that hamstring, right in the middle of it, and not in behind your knee. Just hinge and work with what you've got. Remember, I'm looking for you to have a connection to this newfound mobility that I'm trying to teach you. There's always a connection, there's always a way to control what it is that you've got. And we improve on that. Because control is way more important than flexibility. Unless you're really struggling to be able to get your socks on, control wins over flexibility for me. So it's the pushing and the pulling that I'm trying to connect to. Keep hinging into this. Keep breathing. Try and lengthen your spine. Explore where your spine can possibly go that feels right, feels like you can learn from this and keep getting better. Keep breathing. Keep sticking with it. And then start doing work. Start pushing your heel down and load up this hamstring. This hamstring is getting stronger. And keep pushing. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing down, keep pushing down. Driving this heel down, feeling this stuff right in the middle of the hamstring. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Shoulders down away from ears. Breathe. And stick with it. 3. Keep pushing harder. 2, 1. Hands either side of your knee. Keep in the hamstring stretch and try and persuade your leg that it can lift. And it can't, but that's okay. Because we're trying to connect to this closing angle stuff here so that you're as strong as you are flexible. That control is so important. Keep lifting this thigh, keep lifting, and then maybe sit up a little bit. See if you can get a little bit of air time and hold it. Hold it, hold it. 3, 2, 1, drop. And then see if you can stretch as far as you possibly can. Amazing. So, let's see if we can separate out our lumbar spine from our thoracic spine and understand how that relates to our hips. So when we do cat-cow, if you come back down onto all fours, remember you've got the option of putting your forearms or your hands on a piece of furniture like this. So if your wrists can't deal, if your wrists are happy, then maybe this works for you. Push your chest up, tuck your chin, pick your ribcage up as high as you can, and it's only lumbar spine that tilts. How much extension you can find, how much flexion you can find. Remember, it's avoiding pain. And then see if you can reach one leg back and straighten this leg out and have your hips parallel to the floor. So if your hip goes rotated like this, that isn't it. Hips parallel to the floor, and see if you can still do lumbar extension and flexion, extension and flexion. And swap legs. Lumbar extension and flexion, extension and flexion. That's tiring. Go. So let's just think about what we're doing there. I want you to be able to move your lumbar spine no matter what space your hips are in, because they're in a team. Your pelvis is attached to your spine by the sacrum, and your sacrum and L5, 4, 3, 2, 1 tilt to be able to move your whole pelvis, the whole big figure 8 kind of chunk of bone. Your hips are hanging off the end of that chunk of bone just out to the side here, where your leg bone attaches to your pelvis, and how your lower back interacts with your pelvis dictates how your lower back interacts with your hips, because they're all connected in this chain. I want them all to be able to do the things. That's why I spend so much time. Oh, sorry, we did this hip cars as well. Missing something out. It's okay, we'll catch up. So when we do these hip cars, it's you being able to separate out your hips from your pelvis. So just this hip joint can do all of these shapes and be able to find mobility. And your lumbar spine can be able to do all of the shapes, you're able to change the angle at which your pelvis lives and sits and catches tension. So when you take a step, if you're in big extension, you must understand that this crease gets bigger. If you take a step and your lumbar spine is in flexion, then this tucks your tailbone under, that pushes pelvis forwards, and then this hip, even as it lands, is closer to extension, close to having this bum muscle on. And there's no right or wrong between those two shapes, but I want you to be able to do them all, so there's a big range of mobility and range of things that you can do. So when we think about this further, if you go internal external rotation on this hip, so you turn this knee in, turn this knee out, turn this knee in, turn this knee out. It's not about your knee, it's about this hip in here. Internal external rotation, and understand that. Then when you plant this foot and load it up, have this knee right over the top of your ankle and have your body pitched forwards over the top, and see if you can tense your belly a little bit. You're going to grab hold of your pelvis and go into external rotation, so this hip stays set, so this leg stays set, and then go internal rotation. You're kind of moving your pelvis around your femur. And you're trying to keep your lower back still and understand what you're moving and what you're keeping still. What you're keeping is your footprint. So your footprint stays set and kind of swiveling on this back toe. This back toe is kind of spinning into the floor as I drop. My whole pelvis comes across, and then my whole pelvis opens out. Whole pelvis comes across, whole pelvis opens out. It's internal, external rotation, internal and external rotation. And think about what's happening there. Your femur is sat like this. Your pelvis is on top with a ball and socket joint, and your pelvis is twisting around it like this. And I want you to be able to understand that, so that when you land in internal and external rotation, you can be loaded with all the weight through your foot, your calf, your knee, your thigh, your hamstring, your glute. It all works. So if I do this facing you this time, this knee goes over the top of your ankle, and you pitch yourself forward so this leg is all loaded up, and you go into external rotation to internal rotation, external rotation to internal rotation. And remember, you're working with what you've got. If you've had a hip replacement, or you've got a hip that's really vulnerable, and you can feel it being vulnerable, it is vulnerable, so you might need to do less and do little mid-range, just noodling around, trying to understand, keeping this knee kind of still, keeping this footprint kind of good. Internal to external rotation. Watch my hips, watch my pelvis swivel, swivel, and swivel, and swivel. Last couple. Cool. And then let's get into our thigh stretch. So you've got a few options here. As always, you can do this with, we're going into 90-90. You can do it elevated. So if you do it on your sofa, you'd have your foot on the sofa, drop your knee across your body, and then you would drop down like this. Doing it on the floor, you sit on the floor, and you get into 90-90 like this. So imagine, like, if this shin was up on your sofa, that could work. If you slide this foot back, bring the thighs close to the floor as you can, so the inside of your thigh gets as close to the floor as you can. We hinge forwards and drop our torso as close to this front foot as you can. So you come down, look for this stretch down the outside of your hip, and just breathe. And breathe, and hang it out. Keep hanging out. Keep looking for the stretch down the outside of your thigh, outside of your hip. And rotate a little bit, and come in and out of it a little bit. That's it. And stick with this now. We spend a little bit of time here feeling how it feels to stretch the outside of this hip. And think about this, this is external rotation. And what we just did standing is relevant to what we're doing now in this stretch. Remember, flexibility isn't really my goal. For you or for myself, really, it's the control. It's the being able to pull my body into certain shapes and be able to take load and create force. So, we start thinking about that now as you push this front shin down into the floor. this shin, this ankle, this knee. It's pushing down through the floor. Keep loading it up, keep pushing. Keep loading it up, keep pushing. And remember, you're working with what you've got. If you push and that's it, and you know that it's not your maximum strength, but that's all you've got to play with, that's all you've got to play with. It's fine, we'll persuade more out of it as we do this more. For me, I'm kind of strong, kind of flexible, so I can drive down hard and I can hinge forwards a little bit more and find this real true end range. If it feels like too much, I'm quite happy to back away. I'm going to try and persuade my body that I've got more strength and more control. Keep pushing, dropping your belly down. Going 3, 2, 1. Hold this end range and then try and imagine lifting my foot towards my face. It's never going to happen. Not ever going to get that extra mobility to be able to do that, but I'm going to get close as I pick my chest up. I keep trying to get air time. Maybe my knee lifts, maybe this foot lifts. I've got air time. I'm doing this passive range hold. Pick this ankle up and take your hand away a little bit at a time and try and earn all of this stuff. Hold it up, hold it up, hold it up. 3, 2, 1, drop down, and then hinge and drop, hinge and drop. So good. And then staying in this same 90-90, grab hold of this back foot and pull your heel in towards your bum. We're going to do a little thigh stretch here. We need to squeeze your shoulder blades together and then pull this heel towards your bum. And looking for a stretch here. Heel towards your bum. Maybe you might need to drag this knee back a little bit further and squeeze shoulder blades together. So see how my t-shirt's all stretched across here? See if you can stick with that as you find this thigh stretch. Breathe. Then slowly start pushing your foot into your hand. Start loading up these thigh muscles in their end range, trying to get these to bite on to this. Pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. 3, 2, 1. Then pull your heel towards your bum. Then take your hand away. Try and own this stuff. Try and squeeze your heel towards your bum. Holding, holding, holding. Going 3, 2, 1. And stretch this leg out. And sit up. And look for this little stretch here. Perfect. And then let's see if you can roll out into 90-90 to the other leg. So you pick this knee up, roll over, slide this knee back. We'll just flipped over into 90-90 with this right leg forward, left leg forward. Think about this. You could change this a load of different ways. This knee can come forward, easier. Knee can come back, a little bit harder. This knee goes out towards the sofa, a little bit harder. Your torso comes down. You play around with it, like move this leg, bring it forwards, bring it back. Explore it until you find the version that works best for you, especially if this knee doesn't like it. Maybe this heel comes in towards you, towards the other leg a bit more as you bring yourself down. Maybe that doesn't quite find the stretch. Maybe you bring it forwards again. There's got to be some kind of exploration of this, because there's no one way to do anything. And a stretch for one person might not, the other person might not find the stretch. We're all different. We're all super different. You have to respect that and work out what works for you. Okay. Shoulders down away from ears as you hinge. And hang out in this end range. It's persuasion that we're after. Persuasion that you can squeeze a little bit more mobility out of your hips. But then, when we squeeze that extra mobility out, you can also connect some strength to it and improve on that strength and be able to get stronger. Okay, keep hinging. Keep dropping down. Keep hinging. Okay. So, sticking with this now. Start trying to drive your calf, drive this foot, drive this knee down into the floor. Load this up. keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Dropping down a little bit more, keep pushing, dropping down a little bit more, keep pushing, keep pushing. Hold this, keep holding, keep holding. That's it. Trying to create force, pushing this foot down into the floor from the hip. So that hip that was stretching is creating force, it's connecting to this ankle, this heel, this knee, drives down harder, 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 keep pushing, then sit up a little bit, hands either side of your thigh, try and lift this foot. Try and lean forwards at the same time, nothing happens at first until you maybe sit up just enough to be able to get some air time, get your hand underneath your foot and pick it up. Take hand away, own this, keep owning it, going 3, 2, 1, drop down, and stretch some more. That's it, and sitting up and rolling back up onto all fours. Remember, it's your all fours, so if you need to have your hands on the sofa like this, then that's fine. Just do only lumbar spine. I want to see that you can separate out your lumbar spine from thoracic spine, pushing your fingertips down. That's it. And last one. Perfect. Then coming up into seated. Before we do anything else, before we go into any shavasana or cooling down, I want you to just check in with the internal and external rotation of this hip. Like you understand it. Like you can move it. This hip can do internal, external, internal, external. Maybe do the same with your shoulder at the same time and feel how they're kind of similar. Feels different, but still a ball and socket joint. That's it. And then lift, go internal, external, internal, external. See if you can do it while your hip flexors performing. That's it. Then do the same on the other leg. Forwards, internal, external, internal, external. That's it. Then lift, internal, external, internal, external. While this hip flexor is working, it's very tiring. There we go. Then bring your feet down. Just check in with your spine. So if you hook your fingers over your kneecaps and try and pull your torso into extension. So it means your sternum kind of comes forwards and your rib cage flips up. So you're going to back bend, squeeze shoulder blades together, pull your shoulders down, then pull rib cage back and try and hang off the back of your knees. Pull all the stuff back and pull it all the way forwards, all the way back, all the way forwards, all the way back. And move your neck side to side. Keep your shoulders down. Keep moving your neck. You lengthen your neck on one side, shorten your neck on the other. But the shortening side stays kind of long. You've got 7 vertebrae here. There's a lot going on between all those vertebrae. So you pull your shoulder blades down, reach the top of your head up, closing angle, stays long. Don't collapse like this, stays long. And then try and look up and look down. It's just like you're nodding your head. We're stretching this stuff. You go up and back down, up and back down. And try the other side. Moving slow. If it feels vulnerable, it absolutely is vulnerable. And then coming back, and then just do a little fidget, move your shoulders around, you move your wrists, bring palms together, Bring thumbs to your forehead, tuck your chin and roll forwards. Namaste. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for senior yoga. I enjoy teaching that class. I've got so much to talk about and so many things to check in with. But it's important that you let me know what you've got going on, and I promise I'll do my very best to help you out and keep you nice and safe so you can keep going. And I realise that this is quite far removed from a traditional yoga class. But I am trained in being a yoga teacher and I love it, and I could teach you a vinyasa flow class, but I feel like it moves on too quick. And if you've got things going on, I want to stop and I want to address what you've got going on. So I like this, breaking it down pose by pose, exercise by exercise, and thinking about the tissue, thinking about what's going on in your body and where your compensations come in and where your spine comes into it. And all of that stuff kind of gets me further and further from saying the Sanskrit words for poses. So if I'm doing Warrior 2, I'm not going to go into how it's Virabhadrasana 2. Although that's lovely, and the law behind it and all of that, those teachings, I find so much value in it. But what I really want to know is, can you move your hip? Can you move your spine? Can you stabilise your spine? Can you stabilise your hip? Can you make all of this stuff strong and relate it into movement outside of a yoga class, outside of the gym, outside of your exercise? I've got more value in that. I'm going to keep kind of going down that path. And that doesn't mean that I don't think there's space to do a lovely yin yoga class or any kind of yoga class. Whatever you do, whatever you enjoy, is absolutely what you enjoy, and you should do what you enjoy. But this stuff is to improve you. It's not rehab. It's not even prehab. It's just practicing being able to move as a human and understanding where your habits have come from and how we can create new habits so that you're bulletproof and you don't get injuries and you enjoy what it is that you do, and you can see the progressive nature of what I do. So if we start with the shoulder cars here, then you're going to progress to here, and then eventually your shoulder is a shoulder and it can push weights around if it wants. If the worst happens, you fall over, it's already caught you here. It already knows how to grip on. You don't hurt yourself. Hopefully. That's my plan. I'm going to stick to it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on Saturday for cocktails. We're doing cocktails. We're doing Bloody Marys, Negronis. We're going to sneak a sweet one in there because it's grown-up cocktails this week for Mixology, 7 p.m. And it's free as well, so you can invite all your friends, even if they're not on this, if they're not doing the live classes as they happen. It's going to be on the old one that we did over lockdown. It's going to be there, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to shake up some cocktails, talk about how to make those grown-up cocktails in your favour, how to make them work for you, how to play with your ingredients to find the flavours that you actually love, and how to change cocktails into something that you're going to keep enjoying forever and ever. All right, I appreciate you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.